Hey doing everyone, we got the Friday night games here to talk about Dragons v Seagulls, Knights v Roosters here on Draftstars. So you can play them individually or in this mixed one here for the Friday evening game. So a few things to talk about here. We have Jake Trbojevic out, Lockie Croker and also Andrew Davey with COVID. So there's going to be a few players that replace them, obviously. A couple of interesting ones that are actually in the outside backs currently. KO Wicks, good chance he plays 9 this week, which if he does, I'll be selecting him. And Ben Trbojevic, if he plays in the back row there instead of Josh Schuster, then I'll be picking Trbojevic as well. He has scored well there in the past, which is really, really ideal. Obviously a 66 there when he got that game, and then went to centres and played got 23 points there. So we want him in that back row, and he should be able to score similarly to what Andrew Davey did. And at 9K, he's going to be pretty well a must-have. So they're the two things to think about there. And then we have someone like Sipley who will be taking over 13. We'll speak about him in a second. But if we're looking at, obviously, both games here, you've got guys like Tedesco who are going to be pretty important this one. So no Joey Manu this week. He is out, unfortunately. We succumbed to that calf injury. So Teddy becomes super important in that game. Obviously, you see the other next 5 players are both from the Manly and Dragons game. So Teddy definitely the most expensive player in the outside backs there for that game. And I reckon you just got to base it on how much cash you got left over to be able to pick him there. If you're looking at that game, secondly, I think Callum Ponga is pretty well back. He's got 2 scores over 50 in a row, so he's going to be a great player that you can pick up in that game. Other guys I have interest in is obviously Ruben Garrick up against St. George. He's going to have to do a fair bit. Him and Daly Terry Evans are going to have to carry this team a little bit with one of their leaders out in Trbojevic, their hookers out as well. So plenty going on, plenty they have to think about, and plenty they have to do to be able to help out this squad. Some other interesting ones, obviously Lomax has been scoring well, averaging 44 of his last 3. Ramsey 38, so Ramsey's probably a solid one there, but I would personally be picking up Talatau Kola there, either in the outside backs or in the flex. I think he's scoring too well to be left out of this one, averaging 52. And you look at his last 5 games, he has a low of 42 there. So he's been spectacular, and I think you have to pick him up in your side. Other than that, I think there's too many average guys to pick up. You got Suali'i, who's been solid. Obviously, a couple of lower ones the last 2 weeks, 27, 28 in amongst that 67 there. And you've got Paul Momorowski, who's playing centre, and I think he's going to score better in that position. You got the 53 last week, so completely up to you if you think he could do well. Jason Saab, if you think Manly are going to dominate, he's someone that you could pick up because he's scored a couple of decent ones. He obviously gets a bunch of tries when they dominate. In the halves and hookers, I think DCE is pretty close to a must-have, almost a 25k though, averaging 86 on his last 3, a 90 and 100. Pretty much you have to have him, when he gets those scores for you to win on Draftstars, so he's really important. Other guys, Milford, solid, but I think with him up against the Roosters, it's going to be a tougher game for them, and I think that he won't score anywhere near that 49 average he's got in the last few. He got a low 30s last week, and I think it'd be closer to that for him. McCulloch's a 46.6 is his current average over the last 3 there. And that 30's been pretty killer, unfortunately. So do you think he's going to do that again? They lose Moses Mbai to the centres, so I think McCulloch will have to play some big minutes. So I still think he's a solid one if you want to. But I would personally go for Sam Verrills in this halves and hookers section here. 13,500, 44 the low, 51.8 the high in the last 3, since he's been getting big minutes again at 9 positions. So he's a great selection, I believe. Walker should get some decent minutes, but do you pick him? Probably not. And it's probably all I'm going to think about in this one. Foran's been playing well, but hasn't been scoring well enough to be selected there. We move to the forwards, and obviously some really top guns up top there. Olakuatu and Clemmer both averaging 61 and 62. So if you're looking at that directly there, Clemmer that little bit cheaper, that $2,000 cheaper is probably a little bit of an easier selection. He's coming off a 74.9 2 weeks ago where he did score a try, which doesn't happen often, but generally you can expect anywhere around a 55 for Clem. And then Olakuatu, when he's getting attacking stats, he can get up into those high 60s and 70s there. So up to you. If you got the extra cash, go Olakuatu. If you don't, then go Clem there in that one. And if you don't have cash for either of them, then I'll give you some options as well. Crichton's going to be solid. Also, I think Sewer's got too expensive now. Barnett, too expensive. Same for Frizzell, just with how they're playing. And Barnett in 13 doesn't go as well as he does on the edge. Someone like Jack Bird's coming off a slightly lower game, but still 38 for a guy that's 15,000 isn't the worst that you could potentially select. So Bird's a solid one there. Billy Burns is in that 11 role, and you see a 34.1 from him. last week in that role, but 15,000 is a bit too much for him, I would say. Lodge will be solid without being spectacular. You got someone like Nat Butcher, I think, is a great selection again at 13,170. Should be getting 80 minutes on that edge, so he's a great selection at that price. And then looking down the line, there's not too much to talk about. We've got someone like Egan Butcher, who, when he gets good minutes, which is a majority of time here, especially with someone like Siwa Takiaho out, he's going to get somewhere in that high 30s. So Butcher is a solid one to pick up on the flex or in the forwards as well, if you want to go cheaper. And then someone like Sipley at 9.7 or Kepi, one of them is going to get some half decent minutes, to be honest. And then Schuster, if he gets a start, but in that final teams list, then I would be selecting him in my squad as well. But that is the video for your Friday afternoon, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. Jump into the description below, hit that sign up link, and I can't wait to see you guys out there playing well. And I hope you enjoy a good weekend. See you later.